guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula 1. And although it's not the Bahrain Crawl Room just yet, it is 5 drivers I hate. So we're going to get very, very ranty in this ranty room regardless. And I hope you're all looking forward to the season starting this weekend. It actually starts tomorrow. Fantastic, can't wait, genuinely cannot wait. But that's not why we're here, I've done my F1 predictions, I've done 5 drivers I love. It's time for the 5 drivers I hate on the current Formula 1 grid. Hate's maybe a bit of a strong word for some of them, but some of them are more than deserving it. Can you tell whom? So the first one on this list is Fernando Alonso. I know, might be a surprise to you. I was a big fan of him during his Renault days in 2005, 2006 when he won the titles. I loved him when he was in Minardi. I always remember him qualifying in 14th place at the US Grand Prix in that Minardi, which was unbelievable for a car that was so far at the back of the grid. That was like starting pole for them. So I have got no doubt at all that he has got biblical amounts of talent behind the wheel. His Ferrari days as well were impressive, most notably 2012. Taking the title fight towards the end with Vettel, and he was in a crap car. That Ferrari was not a good car that year, and he dragged that to somewhere special. But ultimately from there, I just think he slipped away and just fell away. And most notably when he was at McLaren Honda, I've said in the cruel walls in the previous years that I thought he was doing a good job in a bad car. But I actually think now, looking back in hindsight, he made that car worse. And I think he put the team in a difficult position because already the Alpine team have said he's difficult to work with. I think he forced a lot of people to make the car in his direction and not suited to both drivers to try and push him equally up the field. I think he was just fully focused and fully committed on what he wanted and nothing else was right. That I think he steered the team in the wrong direction. And I think we were really proved of that in 2019 with McLaren when straight away a new driver lineup. You've got Carlos Sainz, you've got Lando Norris, a rookie as well. And they go out and deliver double points finishes, impressive finishes as well. You know, top 5s. And you think, hang on a minute, this is a bit of a transformation to 2018 when they started off really well with double points finishes. And then after like 5 or 6 rounds, they were struggling to even scrape points. It was a really weird thing to see, and I know in 2019 the McLaren car would have been based on some feedback from Alonso, but if the feedback was all fully Alonso's doing, then surely the 2018 car would have continued to be good. A very, very bizarre situation indeed, and I think that he's not going to deliver what people think he's capable of now. I think he's too old. I think he's just adamant that I just come in here for money. I want to win races or whatever, and he's not got any realistic goals for the team he's in. So I honestly believe Alpine will start off strong this year and then tumble down the order. That is my personal opinion on it, and that's why Alonso's on the hate list. I don't necessarily hate him as a person, but I just hate the way that he's taken a potential seat away from a young up-and-coming talent. Ultimately, I think he's going to lead the Alpine team in the wrong direction, and it's going to cost him a place or two in the constructors. That's how I personally feel. Next up on this list is Lance Stroll. I know. I'm a big hater of him. I'm fully aware of that. What can I say for last year? I think he had some impressive performances last year, but was still so inconsistent. And that Mugello incident, that wasn't his fault, but when he had the tyre failure, he never delivered what he did in the first half of the season in the second half after that incident happened. So there was a lot more inconsistencies from Mugello onwards, and I can understand it could definitely shake you up if you have a tyre failure at that sort of speed at the sort of corner he did, without a doubt. But I just don't like the guy. I just cannot warm to him. I can't like him. There's just something about him that's underlying with me that I just get a bit of an uneasy feeling when I look at him. Not just for the fact I don't think he deserves to be in Formula 1. You know, I think had he been any other driver with money and not Daddy's team, when he left Williams, that would have been him out of Formula 1. But obviously Daddy bought Racing Point. Fantastic. You save jobs, you save people's livelihoods. You kept the team going. I'm not disputing that. But when you've got Aston Martin as a brand, you surely got to think that had it not been anything other than Daddy keeping him in that seat, it would have been Vettel and Perez. That's what you ultimately have to believe. I'm sorry, but Perez did more than enough to keep that Aston Martin seat, Racing Point seat. But they kept Stroll. And that ultimately means to me that the consortium of bellends that are running Aston Martin, Racing Point, whatever you want to call it, it's still Daddy that has the ultimate influence on that team. And there's something I just don't agree with. I really don't agree with it. I think that team can have so much promise, but I think it's going to be fundamentally let down by the drivers this year at Aston Martin. And I think that's a shame, because you've got the two key crucial people there, and you've got one that's the boss's son and the one that's a bit of a washed up champion. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But in regards to Lance Stroll, yeah, there's just something underlying about him that I fundamentally don't like. I still think he's got the chance to cause a big accident in Formula 1 based on what we've seen in previous years. And we have seen it a little bit here and there, but it's never come to fruition as in it being a big accident. And I still honestly believe that if he's going to be under pressure this year to keep his seat and to keep in love with his daddy, that it could do some silly manoeuvres. So there you go, that is Lance Stroll on this list. Again, not really a hate, but more of a I don't fully understand him as a character, and I don't really believe his skills are enough to keep him in Formula 1 for as long as he has been. And while we're on the subject of Aston Martin, I may as well go on to him. I've already quickly mentioned him, Sebastian Vettel. I don't think he's going to deliver the promises that we all expect him to do. I personally hope him and wish him all the best, and I really hope he has a restore to factory settings now. He's with a new team, away from Ferrari. And I just want him to have a good... Don't keep fucking spinning, basically, because as much as I like to take the piss out of it, it's frustrating to watch because we lose a lot of good battles and a lot of good races as a result of Vettel spinning. So, if he can keep it on the road and keep consistent, I honestly believe that he'll do well. But I think he's just lost his edge now. I honestly believe he's lost his edge and has not got that racing capability like he had 6-7 years ago when he was doing well, fighting for championships and ultimately falling short. But I think, again, with him, mental. Hockenheim 2018 had a big impact on his mental status and how he drove a car and handled the car, because he was never really the same again. I think he's took 2 wins since then, if I'm right in saying. But ultimately, one of those were looked in at Singapore in 2019. And then as for the... I can't remember what he did in 2018. He won one more, didn't he? I think it might have been at Singapore again, actually. But regardless, I honestly believe that there's something fundamentally wrong with Vettel's headspace, and I just think he's lost that edge now. You know, he's got kids, he's got family, he's got a wife to go home to, and I think that's going to change your perception on what you did 10 years ago in the sport. Because ultimately you've got more responsibilities at home, and I think it all has an impact, personally speaking. And again, he's not a driver I hate. I just think ultimately Aston Martin have potentially the third best car, but I don't think they're going to finish third in the constructors this year because the drivers are going to let the team down. And that is such a big issue when you're putting all this effort into a team. You've got all this staff, hundreds and hundreds of people, putting all their hard work in, and you've got 2 drivers there that are just going to blow it for you. That's my personal opinion anyway. So again, it's not a hate with Sebastian Vettel. I don't hate the bloke. But I just think it was time for him to move on and go somewhere else. But there you go. I think it was time for him to go somewhere else and just be done with Formula 1. Next up, we have the bottle job. It's Valtteri Bottas. And I was going to go into a big, massive rant with him. I was going to absolutely lay into the bloke. Don't get me wrong. I've got a rant planned and everything. But I'm not going to do it. And the reason I'm not going to do it is because I watched The Drive to Survive, Season 3. If you've not, I recommend you watch it. It's quite good. First episode's a bit shit because they've massively over-dramatised winter testing, but there you go. But when you get to the Russian race with Drive to Survive, the Netflix crew, of course, that are at Russia with Mercedes, and they're focusing on that team. Ultimately, Hamilton got it wrong, didn't he, with where he started in the pit lane to do his pit lane starts. He was at the end of the pit lane and he should have been in that box. Team fucked up. Hamilton fucked up, yeah, absolutely. Bottas ultimately won that race because of the 10-second penalty. And it'd come from the podium celebration of him winning the race. Bearing in mind, a Mercedes driver has won. And he got back into the whole team area in the big fancy trucks that they build up and everything. And all of the team had fucked off. They'd already gone. They'd already left. So between him winning the race, going up to the podium, doing the press conference and whatever, then coming back down, they'd all fucked off home because Hamilton didn't win. Now, how does that mindset affect a driver? He was sat on his own in a room drinking a bottle of Heineken. There's something fundamentally wrong there in Mercedes, and they say there's no number 2 driver. We saw it on Drive to Survive. It was a very key point. So I can kind of understand now why he's been like he's been for the last couple of years, because that's not just happened overnight and just happened to happen that one race that Netflix were there. They caught it at the perfect opportunity, because otherwise we wouldn't have known. Toto Wolff in that episode said, fuck you to anyone who thinks that there's a number 1 and number 2 driver in the Mercedes team. What a load of bollocks, we just saw what happened there. So I'm having more of a rant at Mercedes here, to be honest. But Valtteri Bottas, pull your finger out your ass. We've all seen what happens to you now behind the scenes. Stop doing team fucking orders. Stop obeying them. Have a bit of a fight, and if it involves you taking Hamilton out to prove your point, take Hamilton out to prove your point. Be aggressive, for fuck's sake. Have some balls. Stop just being a pushover, is what I'm going to say to Bottas now. It's words of advice, not words of criticism. Pull your finger out your ass and go for it. Okay? If it don't work, it don't work. But you've got no regrets, have you? Because you lunged it up the inside because you wanted to be first into turn 1. Oh, didn't work. Oh dear, never mind. I'm thinking of me now, not the team. The team doesn't have his back. Mercedes do not have his back. And I honestly believe now he just needs to think of himself. Fuck who he's getting his wage from, because at the end of the day, if they want to sack him, sack him. That's personally how I'd approach it now. And then we come to, last but by no means least, the driver that cannot be named for legal reasons. And again, I'd had a really, really big rant lined up for him and a big shouting match and something funny. But I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny that he's in Formula 1. I don't think I can make a joke about him. Honest to God, the bloke is an utter dick. An absolute dick. And I know money has to make a team survive. I completely get that. But we've got a fucking car in his own nationality of colours. We've got team kit in his own nationality of colours. We've got all the fucking trucks and bullshit boarding in the team in his own country's flag. Does that not prove to you what a bellend this bloke is? To the point where he's like, I know you're struggling for money, so I'm going to give you another £1 million if you paint the car in the Russian flags. I think that's ultimately what's happened. I'm sorry, but there'd be no good reason. We've seen pay drivers before. Sergio Perez, he doesn't have a Mexican flag on his car, and we've seen Marcus Ericsson. Okay, ultimately he ended up with the Swedish flag on his car in the Sauber, but that was due to his teammate NASA's sponsorship, not because he wanted it. So yeah, it's unbelievable what to really think about the driver that can't be named for legal reasons. I think the way I just think he's a grotesque little greb, is my honest opinion on it all. I think he's a greb. He's just a dirty, dirty person. He's never done anything to prove his worth. At least Stroll bought himself an F3 championship, but this Russian driver's just not sitting well with me at all. He's not sitting well with a lot of others as well, to be honest. I don't think he's going to last the season. I personally believe in his personal life he's going to fuck up again at some point, and ultimately we will force his hand. We will force his hand to either leave, or we will force Hasser's hand that he has to be told to leave. I think the FIA would have to get involved as well, because I don't think they're going to want 99% of their fans actively hating a driver, and rightly so. Rightly so, we hate the driver on the grid for all he's done. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I honestly don't see where he's going to be in terms of the sport, but I hope he goes. I genuinely hope he goes. It's a hatred with this one, it really is. From his attitude on track, in terms of punching Callum Ilott a few years ago in the F3 Championship after a qualifying round. I think it's just he's got the whole ethos in his head is, I'm a rich person, I can do what the fuck I please. And I'm afraid you can't, pal. And unfortunately, when you're rich, you are set a certain amount of standards that you have to adhere to. Because the richer you are, the more in the limelight you are. You've put yourself in the limelight for Formula 1. you're going to have to expect all of us mere peasants, in your eyes, to criticise you when you're wrong. And that's going to be on track, off track, anywhere. We've got a cancel culture in society now. I know we have. There's a big problem with it. And I'm sick of it in some respects. But this is one of the guys that we need to focus more on to get fucking rid of him. The dirty little bastard. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. This is the 5 drivers I hate. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below on the drivers I have reviewed. Again, it's not really hate with a lot of them. In fact, I'd probably say 4. 4 out of the 5 of them I don't actively hate. Let's get that clear now. But I just don't think that they're right for Formula 1 now for various reasons. So there you go. That is my personal opinion on it. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Who are the 5 drivers that you are not so keen on this year, let's say. And if you leave your reasons why as well, that's all good. And let me know if you agree with my 5. That's the most fundamental thing here, isn't it? I'm always open to criticism. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you all for the Crawl Room on Monday. So thanks a lot for watching and much love.